Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I am going to continue with these cold cases, and today's case is about a 6-year-old girl named Carol Ann Stevens. I gotta warn you, we will be talking about the rape and the death of a child, and also some stalking activity as well. When I first read this, it was difficult. It was difficult to read it, especially because it's quite close to home. Carol was from Cardiff, but she was found in Horeb, which is near a town that's very local to me, called Llanelli. Yeah, it is quite an old story. It was back in the 1950s, but they did kind of have the killer. They kind of found out who they thought it was, but by the time they'd done this, he had already passed away. So technically it's still an unsolved case because they can't say for definite that it was this guy. But yeah, like I said, there is a warning. There will be child rape and the death of a child, also some stalking going on in this story, and it's not the nicest thing to listen to. It's not the nicest thing to hear, but hopefully it will raise some awareness. I know it was such a long time ago that it happened, but there are certain things in this story that stand out, so some people might actually remember. So yeah, the next voice you're going to be hearing is future me when I'm just reading the story, and I'm just going to crack on with my makeup. Yeah, let's try and get some answers for this family. Sadly, her mother has actually passed away as well now, but hopefully there's some family members that are still about, that want justice for this. So let's get into it. This is the case of Carol Ann Stevens, aged 6. On April 7th of 1959, 6-year-old Carol Ann Stevens from Melfant Street, Cathays, Cardiff, was sent to the shop just down the road to get sweets for herself and cigarettes for her mother Mavis. About midday, she wandered off to the shop along Dogfield Street. She came home shortly after, handed her mum the cigarettes, and went back out the door to go and play. Her mum had told her not to stay out late, but sadly, she wouldn't be returning. Mavis said that Carol seemed to be in some kind of rush, as if she had plans. Carol didn't return, as her mother had told her to. As soon as her mother and stepfather Ken told the police she was missing, a search for Carol was launched. Carol was described as confident, happy and lively, and not afraid to talk to strangers, which worried the police investigators and made them fear the worst. The Stevens family were known to be hard-working and friendly. They were also really well known around the town. They searched the city and surrounding areas for 2 weeks. Vehicle drivers and pedestrians were questioned, and numerous appeals were made for information. On April 21st, Carol's body was found in a 20-foot deep ravine near Horeb, 60 miles from her home and 5 miles north of the town of Llanelli. It was determined that Carol had been dead for at least a week. Her body had been covered by overhanging branches and leaves. She was also wearing the same clothes she was last seen in, except her skirt was around her ankles and her shoes were missing. One shoe was found 5 feet away, and the other one was found 15 feet downstream. This makes me feel really physically sick saying this. Carol had sadly been assaulted. There weren't any marks on her body, so this suggested to the police that she had not been thrown into the ravine. An examination was done on her stomach and intestines, and no traces of poison were found. Horeb was such a small area, so the police believed the body had been put there by someone who knew the area well. There was a brick factory nearby, and all employees were interviewed and inquiries were made during the 60-mile route between Llanelli and Cardiff. Farms, fields, and hundreds of motorists were checked and questioned. Scotland Yard helped with the investigation. They interviewed over 10,000 people, searched 3,000 vehicles, and took over 1,100 statements. When investigators spoke with the children, some of them had said they were invited to go for a ride by several different drivers. As you can imagine, this really concerned the police, but they assured the public that they had followed these statements up and further investigated. A few weeks after the 6-year-old's disappearance, several different witnesses were spoken to and had said they'd seen a young girl approach a green vehicle on a couple of different days. One witness saw her go over to the car which was parked on the corner of Robert Street, and she knocked on the window. An adult male was seen inside the vehicle, reading or writing on some papers. Police did trace an owner of a green saloon car that she had been in a week before she went missing. Another witness saw her get out of a green saloon car near her house. They thought this was odd, that she had been dropped off in the corner of the street and not her own home. I will insert a photo of the car for you here. I know it was long ago, but someone might remember something. A teenager had told police that she had seen a man with dark hair wearing a trench coat and a brimmed hat sitting inside a green car reading some papers. In the weeks before Carol disappeared, she had been telling her friends that she had a new uncle who took her for lovely rides in his motorcar. Around the same time, Mavis's neighbour said she had seen a strange man peering over the garden wall and into the young girl's bedroom before she vanished. One of Carol's friends had a hobby of writing down the licence plates of cars. The police found this promising because he might have noted down the green car's registration, but sadly this was a dead end. Police said it was obvious that Carol didn't walk to Llanelli, and a nationwide campaign was launched to warn children of the dangers that come with talking to strangers. It was telling them not to get into cars with them. On Friday, April the 24th, days after Carol's body was found, 300 people gathered in front of Llanelli police station because they had heard that a man had been caught for questioning in relation to the case. However, this was just a rumour. July 1st, 1959. The inquest into Carol's death was concluded as murder by an unknown person or persons. The cause of death was never fully disclosed. During an earlier hearing, however, it was said that she was suffocated, though there was very little evidence to the cause of death. No persons of interest were found at the time of the murder. At the beginning of the investigation, the police suspected that Carol's father, James Lynch, had been involved. Mavis and James had divorced when Carol was only 2 years old. James moved to London afterwards, though he did want full custody of Carol. He was quickly ruled out of the investigation, as he was in London during the time that Carol had been taken. The case went cold for decades, up until November 2021, when it was confirmed that the case was being re-examined by former detectives and crime experts, led by former police chief constable Jackie Roberts. Around this time they also announced that they had a new suspect, but unfortunately he was now deceased. Ronald Edward Murray had caught the team's eye after they found out he was mentioned in the memoir of Police Detective Superintendent Roy Davis. Roy worked on the case back in 1959. Ronald Edward Murray was an Australian man who moved to the UK after the Second World War. He was described as a charismatic man who lied often by his neighbours. Murray had worked as a travelling sweets salesman in 1959. He also had links to Llanelli and Cathy's Cardiff, and he had previously worked in the brick factory in Horeb, where Carol was found. Murray was questioned at the time of Carol's disappearance. He told the police he wasn't feeling well and he had hit a dog with his car. After putting the dog in his car, he drove home. Apparently, when he got home, the dog ran away, Murray said he took quite a while searching for the dog. Don't know about you, but that kind of sounds a little sus to me. Despite his dodgy alibi, he wasn't questioned any further. Morris's company gave him a work company car, which was a green Morris Minor. Again, I'll insert a picture for you right now. It was also said that Murray would buy the sweets that were well liked by the children. Strangely, Morris's wife died a decade later in 1969. He found her dead in the living room. He put the blame on his son. He said he often played a trick on him, asking him to make a cup of tea and then turning the gas off, or teasing him, saying he couldn't be man enough to make a tea because he couldn't get the gas to work. When he was questioned, Murray said his son tried to play this trick on someone else, but accidentally left the gas on, resulting in Della's death. Even though Della's death was ruled an accident, police still had a hunch that Murray was involved. Frustratingly, Murray died in Penarth in 1973. He is the strongest suspect in this case. Police are continuing to investigate whether or not he was responsible for Carol's murder. As it stands right now, 6-year-old Carol's case is still unsolved. On the 27th of April 1959, hundreds of people attended Carol's funeral. Her mum Mavis Stevens passed away in 2002 without seeing justice for her daughter Carol. If you have any information regarding Carol's murder, please contact Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Again, that's 0800 555 111. I honestly don't know what to think about this case. The reason why it's so scary is because of how young she was, and it's just disgusting what happened. And the fact that it's quite close to where I live just makes it all that more scarier. What do you guys think? Do you think he had done it, or do you think that Carol's dad was actually involved? I don't know. I don't know what to think. But this guy does sound pretty dodgy, and he had a really bad alibi. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. Let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, if you want to know what makeup I've used to do this video with, it will be in the description down below. So that's going to be all from me today, guys. I hope you're having a really, really good week or weekend, and I shall see you soon.